Nigerians are some of the brightest and most brilliant people on earth. Nigerians believe that they can dominate and achieve greatness in any part of the world where they find themselves. Many are breaking grounds in Europe, others in the United States of America, and other countries of the world. But in every 12, there is always a Judas. In this video, we will discuss about 10 Nigerians that were considered a national threat in other countries because of their internet fraud and money laundering records. This is a video of the top 10 Nigerian Yahoo boys that were caught after stealing millions of dollars abroad, how they were caught, and how everything was taken away from them, leaving them poor and serving a prison sentence. At number 10, we have Ernest Anini, who was famously called the Hacker. Growing up in poverty in Uromi, Ernest Fedaro Anini turned to cyber scamming as a misguided escape from hardship. With no formal tech training, he used crude hacking and phishing methods to victimize hundreds across the US, UK, and Europe, stealing at least $1.4 million. Anini targeted small businesses, elderly retirees, and dating site users with malware, fake romances, and sextortion plots. He taunted authorities for years on social media, declaring, "Interpol can never catch me," and styling himself the most wanted hacker. Authorities finally arrested him in Cyprus in 2022 after an international manhunt. In police custody, Anini boasted of scamming greedy Westerners by using poverty and racism to gain sympathy. He now faces extradition and up to 30 years in prison. Anini's technical skills could have uplifted his community if channeled productively. He chose a darker path and reaped the grim consequences. At number 9, we have Kolawole Akinwumi, popularly known as KLW. Born into a broken home in Ondo, Kolawole Akinwumi studied electrical engineering but struggled to find work after university. Desperate and disillusioned, he discovered a hidden talent for digital fraud. Using the alias KLW, he orchestrated a vast money laundering network that moved over $25 million in illicit proceeds between the US, UK, and Nigeria for a syndicate of cyber scammers called the Bye Bye Boys. Kolawole's specialty was recruiting students with valid US visas to open bank accounts for receiving scam payments. He shuttled money mules between Texas, New York, and Nigeria. After a 3-year joint investigation by the FBI, US Postal Inspection Service, IRS, and UK authorities, KLW was arrested in London in 2019. Extradited to the US, he pled guilty in 2022 to money laundering conspiracy and faces up to 20 years in prison. At sentencing, he begged for mercy for the sake of his 2 young children, lamenting he went astray in trying to make ends meet. One can empathize with his plight, but not his choices. Poverty explains crime, but can never excuse it. At number 8, we have Jerry Ikogo, popularly known as Owns. The son of a policeman and market trader in Edo State, Jerry Ikogo seemed an unlikely fraud mastermind. But behind his day job as an IT support technician, he quietly built one of Nigeria's most prolific cyber fraud rings. Using the alias Owns, he coordinated over 15 scammers across 3 continents to trick lonely hearts and small businesses out of more than $18 million. Onzi's specialty was romance scams. His foot soldiers combed dating sites, posing as attractive singles, then cajoled smitten victims into sending money for fake emergencies and business deals. When some victims grew suspicious, Owens made death threats. After years of terrorizing people's hearts and wallets, Owens was arrested in Nigeria in a joint EFCC FBI operation in 2021. Extradited to California, he now faces up to 60 years in prison. As he stews in a foreign jail far from his wife and daughters, may he reflect on the families he destroyed for greed. And may his victims find peace, knowing their romance scammer faces a loveless future behind bars. At number 7, we have Tobilola Bakare, who was popularly known as Toby. Born to a struggling single mother, Tobilola Bakare started scamming as a teenager to help feed his family. But small cons soon swelled to a transcontinental fraud empire that funded a flamboyant lifestyle of private jets, sports cars, and celebrity photo ops. The Instagram influencer, known as Toby, gained millions of fans for his extravagant profile. In reality, he led a massive fraud and money laundering syndicate that stole over $35 million through business email compromise scams and romance cons. Working with his US-based brother, Olajide LJ Bakare, Toby tricked companies into diverting huge invoice payments to their own accounts in China, India, and the UAE. He laundered money for North Korean hackers and lived large in Dubai until Interpol tracked him down in 2022. Arrested in Cyprus, Toby now faces up to 30 years in prison if extradited to the US. He once taunted haters by asking, "How many lives have you impacted positively?" The irony is tragic. Toby had the charisma and connections to be a legitimate role model. Instead, he chose a path that destroyed lives and branded him an international criminal. If a lifestyle looks too good to be true on social media, it probably is. At number 6, we have Okechukwu Amadi. Born into crushing poverty in Imo State, the brilliant Okechukwu Desmond Amadi dreamed of being a famous detective like Sherlock Holmes. He earned top grades in school and a criminology degree in the UK. But instead of becoming a crime fighter, he became a cunning cyber criminal. While working as an anti-fraud investigator for the London Metropolitan Police by day, he moonlighted as a dark web fraudster by night. Amadi's unique position allowed him to steal case files on cyber scams, then use those same techniques on unsuspecting victims. With data bought on dark web forums, he drained people's accounts, maxed out their credit cards, and took loans in their names, stealing over £1 million in all. He even had the audacity to interview one victim whose £30,000 savings he had wiped out. But Amadi's double life imploded when authorities found fraudulent files on his police computer. Sentenced to 16 years in prison in 2023, he earned one badge of distinction, the longest sentence ever given to a serving UK police officer. Amadi took an oath to serve and protect. He chose to exploit and infect. There is no greater betrayal of public trust. At number 5, we have Mark Oshegale, popularly known as Otiki. Mark Oshegale seemed to embody the immigrant dream, a Nigerian trader living a quiet family life in the London suburbs. But behind closed doors, he hid a lucrative double life as the UK money man for a massive international fraud syndicate. For over a decade, Oshegale laundered tens of millions in stolen funds through a network of shell companies and offshore accounts. He worked with scammers from the US, Nigeria, and Eastern Europe to give their dirty money a veneer of legitimacy. In one 18-month period alone, he funneled £6.9 million through his accounts, while reporting minimal income to tax authorities. But his run finally ended in 2021, when UK authorities arrested him and froze 31 accounts stuffed with £381,000 in illicit cash. Oshegale pled guilty to money laundering and fraud. Sentenced to 5 years in prison, he's also banned from serving as a financial director for 10 years. At trial, the prosecutor said, "People who commit this offense tend to slip into the background." Oshegale tried to hide behind a facade of normalcy, but justice still found him in the end. Let his downfall serve notice to all who enable and conceal fraud. There's no such thing as clean complicity. At number 4, we have Adepoju Babatunde Salako. Adepoju Babatunde Salako is a 34-year-old Nigerian national who lived in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and served as the local coordinator of the pro-Tinubu political group Relax, Tinubu is Fixing Nigeria, a bitter irony given his criminal record. Between 2020 and 2022, Salako orchestrated multiple overlapping internet fraud schemes targeting the United States government. He and his co-conspirators used over 1,000 stolen or fake identities to fraudulently obtain COVID-19 relief funds, including PPP loans, economic injury disaster loans, and unemployment benefits across more than 30 states, stealing over $5 million in total. He also ran romance scams in collaboration with Nigeria-based accomplices, laundering stolen proceeds to China and Nigeria for a 25% cut. In a separate scheme, he hijacked 7 Alaskan residents' online government accounts to redirect their annual oil dividend payments to bank accounts he controlled, using a VPN to mask his location. Investigators from the FBI, IRS Criminal Investigation, and U.S. Postal Service Office of Inspector General tracked him down through digital evidence, including a telltale Philadelphia IP address. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 78 months in federal prison in Colorado, plus a concurrent 18-month term in Alaska, and order to pay over $2.5 million in restitution. At number 3, we have Samuel Ugberesi. He called himself Putsami. On social media, Samuel Ugberesi dazzled followers with a lavish lifestyle. The wedding photos, the designer shoes, the swanky cars, and the world celebrated him, never suspecting where the money truly came from. Behind the glamour was something devastating. Between 2014 and 2018, Ugberesi and his accomplices operated a criminal syndicate that targeted vulnerable women in the United States, weaponizing love itself, building fake romantic relationships online, then exploiting those emotional bonds to extort money from their victims. He conspired with a co-defendant to launder the criminal proceeds through bank accounts registered to purported export companies, disguising stolen money as legitimate business income. When investigators closed in, he fled to South Africa, but justice followed. He was arrested at Lagos Airport on December 14, 2025, extradited to the United States, and now faces up to 40 years in federal prison. The luxury was never real. Every smile he bought was paid for with someone else's tears. Fraud never ends well. It only delays the reckoning. At number 2, we have Saheed Owolabi. He posed as a woman. He typed love letters to lonely men. He built trust, manufactured emotion, and then drained them dry. Saheed Sunday Owolabi pretended to be a woman online to build romantic relationships with men across the United States, exploiting those fake connections to trick his victims into sending money and surrendering their personal bank account information, which he then used to launder proceeds from entirely separate frauds. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he and his conspirators intercepted a home sale transaction, sending spoofed emails that directed the victim to transfer closing funds into accounts they controlled, stealing over $120,000 from one victim in North Carolina alone. When arrested, his phone told the full story. Images of lavish spending, a life built entirely on stolen grief. The money he flaunted was never his. Every luxury was soaked in someone else's suffering. A federal judge sentenced him to 15 years in prison, determining he was a leader and organizer within an extensive fraud network that caused substantial financial hardship to victims. At number 1, we have Ikenna Patrick Azubuike. He told the world he was a fisherman, a philanthropist, a man of God-fearing charity. Ikenna Patrick Azubuike, 36, presented his empire as a fish export business between Thailand and Nigeria and his criminal network, the Dodorima Syndicate, staged conspicuous charity events and community outreach programs to project a respectable public image, concealing what was in reality a transnational criminal empire. But behind every donation photo and every smile was cocaine, stolen money, and broken lives. Patrick had lived in Thailand for over 7 years, traveling frequently between Thailand and Africa. He started as a street-level cocaine dealer in tourist areas before ruthlessly rising through the ranks to become the undisputed leader of the Dodorima network. Authorities estimated that over 380 million baht flowed through the network's accounts in just 1 year alone, with substantial sums wired back to Nigeria, where he allegedly built a large mansion, a monument to destruction, paid for in other people's suffering. Investigators believe Dodorima is an offshoot of the larger international organization known as NBM of Africa, also known in some contexts as the Black Axe Network. His downfall came dramatically. When police moved in to arrest him outside a luxury condominium on Rama III Road in Bangkok's Yanawa district, he reversed his vehicle into officers, injuring several in a desperate bid to escape. Officers smashed his windows, disabled his engine, and pulled him into custody. The mansion in Nigeria could not save him. The charity events could not redeem him. Police seized cocaine, cash, a vehicle, and branded goods worth over 700,000 baht. Everything he built was built on poison. Fraud and crime always collapse. The only discount is how many innocent people get buried in the wreckage first. This video is an eye-opener. Internet fraud can never replace good means of livelihood. Stay away from crime. Crime does not pay.